Kia ora. Welcome to Conversations with Wahine, brought to you by the Wellington branch of the National Council of Women, New Zealand.
Hi everyone, I'm Ash, and today I'm joined with Kate Spencer, also known as Creatif Kate, who is well known in the Wellington poetry, comedy, and cabaret circuits. She's a poet, producer, performer, photographer, preacher. Basically, if it starts with a P, she's in. I can personally tell you she is filthy, flirty, funny, sexy, saucy, and sensational, and you won't believe what comes out of her lips, which is why I'm so excited to talk to her today. Her debut solo show, Squirt, won a Tour Ready Award in 2019, and the sequel, which is wonderfully titled Squirt 2, Cum Again, won a Marketing Award in 2022. She was nominated multiple times in 2021, 22, and 23 at the Wellington Comedy Awards, winning Most Innovative in 2021 and 2023. She also was awarded an absolutely positively Wellingtonian award for her service to the arts. She identifies as a queer, disabled, intersectional feminist and strives to create safe spaces, especially for marginalized communities. Kate, I'm so excited to chat to you.
Oh, I put a bit of emphasis on those awards, didn't I? I promise I'm not like...
As you should.
No, it's a joke about I've won another award, everybody. Like, I need a t-shirt that says multiple award winner.
I think you should just start wearing them around a neck like an Olympian, just anywhere you go.
Oh my gosh. So the Wellington Comedy Awards are Wellington boots. And
Yes.
so those are they would weigh me down, but they are, yeah, I am they would look so cute.
They would, and in Wellington, it would just look like a fashion choice.
You're not wrong.
I'm not wrong.
You're not wrong.
You just lean into it.
Oh, thank you. Oh my goodness. Wow.
So, Kate, how did you get involved in comedy? I'm so intrigued.
Well, I've always been funny, haven't I? No.
I mean, you make me laugh.
Thanks. Good. One. I didn't even think comedy was something that I could do. I mean, I loved joke books when I was a kid. Yeah. I had endless joke books on my bookshelf. I was telling a friend the other day, joke books and books about the human body, because I was obsessed with the human body, most specifically the reproductive system. You say you like Squirt 2, Come Again, wait for Squirt 3D in your face.
Oh yes.
So I was more of a poet, but I was a comedy poet. I was performing and jokes in my poetry, and then I started producing a comedy show under Hugo Girl as part of their repertoire, and realized, oh, I could crack at this myself. And so I did, and then COVID hit. So I started comedy in the year of COVID, which, if that doesn't tell you something, really should. Yeah, so I've not been doing comedy for a long time, but I'm quite good at it, I think. Anyway,
I think you're pretty funny.
Oh, thanks.
I mean, if nothing else, the titles of your shows are 10 out of 10.
I'm a wordsmith, like jokes and words, and just playing with that just brings me so much joy. Like, I can riff for ages just doing puns, and yeah, loads of my material is based on good wordplay. Yeah, so
I think women are often better at that. I don't know. I just think sometimes women are better at wordplay, and especially, I mean, I hate the term female comedians, but comedians who are women or even who are in the queer community have a bit more fun, I think, sometimes with their titles and their shows and their comedy in that way than a lot of males do?
Yeah, so one of my favorite female queer comedians in Wellington, it's very narrow, sorry, apart from myself, is Elaine Dick, and their wordplay is brilliant. But they are incredible at constructing a story and a narrative. So a joke isn't just a one-liner with them, it's a constructed narrative that is really honed in on. Yeah, I love their work.
Do you think poetry kind of helps that with that
Well,
word?
Elaine is also a poet.
Ah,
Yeah, and Elaine once said that comedy, or one of the two, poetry, is just the jokes that didn't work, which I think is genius. But I think having those multidisciplinary writing styles really adds flavor to the comedy. So yeah, big fan of comedy poetry, comedy poetic comedy. Yeah, huge fan of that stuff.
because you also run the Feminist Poetry Club, is that right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Oh God. When I say I run it, I am now directing other people to run it.
I mean, that's the mark of a true leader, is telling other people what to do.
Well, darling, my leadership skills have greatly increased in the past year. Very much been telling other people how to do it, because I haven't been able to. But yeah, the beautiful thing about the Wellington feminist creative community is the openness and the safety that people feel. So a couple of years ago, I don't even remember what, I think it was, I don't know. I had a conversation with my dad, who told me I was wasting my time putting on little shows for my little friends. And then, oh yeah, it was the same year I won my absolutely positively Wellingtonian award, and I was like,
ironic.
I'm sorry, my little shows for my little friends was that.
Sorry, where's your award? I didn't see
it. Yeah, so it's creating those safe spaces, because the old saying, shame dies when stories are told in safe places, is something that really motivates me. And you know, we all have trauma in our lives, and we all have things that we need to work through and work on and continue to grapple with as humans, and to have a space that we can do that safely, while being paid a little bit, because you know, I didn't get Creative New Zealand funding. Creative New Zealand, give me funding, thanks, for it.
I'll be sure to tag them in this.
Thanks. I was brutal in my application, but then there were 600 other people who applied for money, and it was just ridiculous. Yeah, people are valued in those spaces, and people feel like they are part of something. And you know, there's this image that I use of, when you're rubbing up against other stones, you're polishing each other. You know, when you're put into a stone polisher, you know, the more time you spend with other people doing the stuff that matters, the shinier you get, the more refined you get. So yeah,
that's so nice. And I think it's just amazing that you've managed to create that space and community for people to, because it's daunting, like, you know, getting up on stage, whether it's poetry or comedy, it's scary, and just to have that safe space.
But for some other people, yes.
For some other people.
No. Wait, what's that? People always say, do you get nervous? And I'm like, no, because I love it. Like, yeah. But other people don't have that same level of confidence and strength behind them, and the years of wisdom. No. Yeah, it is. It's really crucial that new people coming through and coming up feel that safety and feel that energy from the people who have created that space. Although someone said to me the other day, it must be so hard, Kate, creating these spaces for people, and now you can't enjoy them for yourself. And then I thought about that and I was like, no, actually, it was never for me.
Yeah.
It's
bigger.
It's always been bigger than me.
Yeah.
You know, it's always been bigger than me. And crucially, it's for those people who haven't felt heard. And
Yeah.
so when voices are heard, and different voices from all around are heard, then yeah, it's those, we're polished stones, aren't we?
You're really good at creating those spaces, I think, and those communities within Wellington, because you're also involved in Femmes and Thems, is that right?
I'm the brainchild and
Great job.
producer.
Great job of everything.
Brainchild, producer, that's my baby, Femmes and Thems. But that has won awards at the Comedy Awards for Best Regular Show 2 years in a row. And it's every performer who gets up on that stage does their best work because they are super supported throughout the whole process in the green room. While they're on stage, everyone is side of stage supporting and listening and whooping and hollering. I know this is going out, this is pre-recorded, but we've got a show tonight, and I've had to make the decision not to go because last month I went to produce and I had someone drive me in and take me home and make sure I wasn't overdoing it, but I still had to spend a week recovering from doing it. So I've got multiple chronic illnesses, which all just make life a lot harder these days. So yeah, I've created a co-pupper of togetherness and you know, I'd love for a time in the future where Femmes and Thems is not needed, when we don't need to highlight that there are women and non-binary performers on the scene and have a special show for them. But the reality is that we do need that safe space for people. And every time that I've been in the green room or someone else has been in the green room and reported back to me that the vibes backstage are the best vibes and the crowds that come are the best crowds because they know what they're signing up to do as an audience.
Yeah.
They know what they're getting. It's very obviously named Femmes and Thems. There's no cisgender men on the lineup. It ranges from trans femme to trans masc non-binary to everything in between. And it's just about highlighting the diversity of voices even within the women and non-binary comedians scene that we have. But it's also paid, so I pay people, I pay the comedians. I have my friends Troy and Ryan from Split Television recording the show, so all of the comedians can look back at their work and use them for reels and stuff. And I don't really make money from it because again, that's not the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's Femmes and Thems, even if people don't go to comedy or go to a lot of shows, they have heard of Femmes and Thems. I think it's such a staple show in Wellington.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I know just loads of people talk about Femmes and Thems. I think it's a really well-known show in Wellington. I just think because of, and like you say, you know what you're getting. It's a unique show in that it's just, I just think it's a great show. Yeah. And it always has such a good lineup. And I agree with you. It has one of the best audiences because people are going to support those artists. They know exactly what they're going to.
Yeah. I didn't know. I just, look at how dismal ticket sales are in this current economic climate. with the costy lips, my darlings. And some people are amazing, and so I have different tiered systems for ticket prices. So I've got concession, general admission, and generous admission, and some people can afford to go generous admission, which means that other people can get the concession, and I don't ask questions, you know. People have often emailed me and said, hey, is it okay if I get a concession ticket? And I'm not going to police if you have enough money to pay for an admission ticket. Like, I just want you to come. You know, I don't need to police that. I still need to pay the artists because that's crucial, and the people behind the scenes, the tech. But I would gladly, like, if I'd got funding from Creative New Zealand, I would have put tickets at like $5. And just been like, everyone can come, you know.
Because it's striking that balance where you want to want to pay everyone involved, and that's what I think a lot of people don't realize is how much time and people are involved in running all the shows. And also you want to keep tickets cheap enough that they're accessible for everyone to come along.
Exactly. It's a real balancing act. I think I've made a little bit of money for myself out of Fems and Thems over the years, but it wouldn't be. I would rather I didn't get paid and I worked for free and saw that the people who were on stage or working behind the scenes that they would get paid ahead of me, because I feel like I'm enabling more if I'm rewarding their work or just grateful to them for the effort they put in, because it's not me who makes it, it's the people who buy into the idea who make it, you know. And pretty much all the women and non-binary people in comedy have bought into the idea of Fems and Thems. And there's nothing covert about it, you know. It's obviously a show with women and non-binary humans, and the amount of crap that has come my way about being woke on, like, you know.
I was gonna say, do you get a lot of that? So you obviously don't get it from audience members coming. You don't.
No, the audience is great.
Just online,
the keyboard warriors, you know, they're
not
like,
brave
oh
enough
God.
to say it to your face.
Yeah. And if they did, they know that I'll come back at them, because I am not backwards in coming forwards. Like, I will challenge people. I challenge the comedians at Fems and Thems if they've done a joke that is distasteful or doesn't align with my co-pupper. I tell them, I'm like, that doesn't fly here. And people know. So it's a culture that you create.
And I think when it comes to online, people end up in that echo chamber. And I don't know what it is that makes people think they can just say whatever they want. I just think it must be their own insecurities coming across.
Absolutely. It's lack of insight, awareness, education, and empathy and compassion. I think it's a whole range of things. The world has got so much smaller in some ways. I mean, look at what happened to poor Hannah Darling, aka Willie Smackintosh, who a couple of weeks ago was supposed to do story time at an Upper Hutt library, and Brian Tarmaki's Crusaders got it cancelled. She then moved it online, but she was on 7 Sharp with Hilary Barry last night. So you know, you have to weather the storms of prejudice.
It's just frustrating because it's one of those things. It's, you know, I often think it's like abortion or anything. I'm like, no one's forcing you to do anything. You can just, you know, if it bothers you, you just don't need to get involved. You know, I don't know why you need to stop other people doing it.
That's exactly right. And what's really frustrating for me is that I'm a Christian, and I I have a faith, and I have a faith community, and I have a faith community that accepts all of who I am, which includes my disabilities, which includes my queerness, which includes my sexuality, which includes my performance, which includes my ability to preach on a Sunday if they want me to, which includes my ability to be part of the parish council and be part of the leadership of the church. And yet I see Christianity just totally taken over by right-wing evangelical conservatism, and it's not Christ-like to me. It's really not. And for a lot of people, I'm their only Christian point of contact. And I had a friend borrow my car a couple of weekends ago. I said, "Oh, I'll either be at home or at church," and he was like, "Huh?" And it's like, "What? You're a Christian?" Yeah, I'm a crispy, crunchy Christian. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about that because I know you talk a lot, like when you've been on stage, you've talked about being a Christian and you trained as a preacher, a lay preacher as well. And I guess I'm really curious about how you straddle that dichotomy of your faith, but then you talk about things like sex and sexuality and being queer and the queer community. And
because it's not a dichotomy.
okay.
It's
And
not.
do you, I guess, yes, it's not for you, but do
It's
you
not
find,
for me,
do
because
you
that's
find
who
it
I
with other
am.
people?
I am a whole person with a whole range of attributes and assets and ideas and being, and it baffles a lot of people. It does. People are like, but you're not like other Christians. And
Because
I'm
you
like,
have an idea in your head. When you hear Christian, you get an idea of what
oh
that is.
yeah, straight-laced, buttoned up, prim,
Yeah.
proper. I've
Yeah.
never been that. I've never been that kind of Christian. People have tried to make me one. And I do make the joke on stage that it surprises a lot of people that I'm Christian, not least other Christians.
Yeah.
But the people at my church and the other churches that I preach at, they see me for who I am, which is all of who I am.
Yeah.
And there's no need to bridge any gap, because I am the bridge.
Yeah. They know you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They know who I am. They know what I stand for. My next door neighbor is one of my best friends. She's twice my age, in her 80s, and thinks that my mission in this world that I should start up a queer church. And
Oh, yes. That I'll sign up to.
there are queer accepting churches, and there are queer churches in this world. It's just so hard to find them where you are just allowed to be who you are. At my church, we have a slogan, "Come as you are."
Yeah.
And that's in all of our fragility and strength and humanness and hardship, and we all have something to contribute, and that's the kind of message that I bring to the shows that I create as well. So they have the co-papa of Kate's Christianity and Kate's like social justice lens and loving lens and everything. Yeah. The main thing that I want is for people to feel like they're valued, but not just feel like they are, actually be valued.
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of the success of Femmes and Thems and the poetry group, is that I value people.
So I know when you talk about being Christian, I think a lot of people have that assumption of how can you be Christian because are you not judged by other Christians? But I guess on the flip side, do you get a lot of judgment for being Christian by people who aren't religious?
So yeah, good question. No, it's really interesting. on the comedy scene and in comedy, I am able to hold these two worlds. And like I talk about going to parish council meetings where I just want to stick a fork in my eye. But there's no question of why would you believe that, Kate? You know, I thought it's not like, but you're an intelligent woman, Kate, surely. And I'm like, what? I'm not brainwashed.
Yeah.
Not brainwashed. This works for me. I'm not gonna
Not trying to go around save everyone.
No, that's not my job. My job is just to love everyone, and I'm going to try and do that. I don't always do it as best as I can. I fail. I'm not perfect. I fuck up, and I have fucked up with people, and I've had to deal with that, and I've had to deal with them and the fuck ups. But that's part of growth, isn't it? Like I've never said that I am. Never pretended to be like high and mighty above everyone else, just being like, but I'm a person and I'm better than you and you're all going to hell.
Humans are fallible. That's part of the human experience.
And you know, I have people who say, hey, I'm a diehard atheist, but I'd love to just try out church with you one day. And I'm like, great, you'll love it. You know, all of the stuff that we talk about is how to be a better human to our fellow humans. It's not difficult. It is difficult. It's really fucking hard to be a better human to our humans because we are all fucked up. But I'm not obsessed with like counting sins or whether I'm going to heaven or not. I don't fucking know what that is, and I'm quite happy to live in that kind of vague, like, I don't know, but this right here, right now works for me, and I find community, and I feel like that's something that we so desperately need in this world. There is an epidemic of loneliness, and there is a lack of community, and I think, you know, having the feminist poetry groups and the Fems and Thems communities is about building community, and just being that loving, open-armed kind of welcome to people so that they feel safe, you know, and safety isn't necessarily a thing that people associate with church, because the church in the past has taken advantage, and we know that abuse has occurred, and that's devastating, but we know that the church isn't always church. You know, Brian Tamaki is not a church, he's a shyster.
It's all about the community, really. I think it's just bringing people together and connecting them, especially when more and more of our lives are just online. Having the time you can come together, whether that's in a church or not, just you need that sense of community. I think it's so important. It's good for the soul.
And it's my health this year has meant that I haven't been able to leave the house and be community as much as I would have wanted, but my community has rallied and come to me, which is incredible. Like when I first got really unwell and was in my horizontal era, I was getting meals dropped off and people popping in and just bringing snacks and telling me how great I am, and it's time, you've done so much for the community, let the community look after you for a while. And I was just like, oh, so nice, that's so emotional.
That's so lovely.
But I think that it goes to show, if you don't have that, and the arse falls out of your world, then what do you have to help you back up? Nothing. So you've got to create community, not just for yourself but for everyone else, because we are designed to be in community. Yeah.
What about, do you have any advice if anyone listening is maybe coming to terms with being queer and they come from quite a religious community? I think that can be something people struggle with, that fear of not being accepted.
Yeah. I would, what I love to do is say what Jesus said about queer people.
That's excellent.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. The only thing
You had 12 male friends, you know, I just
Jesus canonically gay, yes. But I mean, he didn't tell people to stop seeing prostitutes, you know. He hung out with sex workers and tax collectors, the scum of the earth, you know, in that society. Not like, I'm not saying
yeah.
sex workers work. Yeah, I would do sex work, but my body is too unreliable. How many times did we have to cancel this?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't all on you. There was at least half of those were on us.
So funny. Yeah, so Jesus will accept you as you are entirely for who you are and just want you to be more loving. And that's, you know, the commandments that Jesus gives is love and love and
yeah.
love some more. So yeah, that's what I try and do.
I also think, like, you know, a lot of people fear that being cut out from their community or their families because of that. And I always think it's important to remember that, you know, you have two families, the one you're born into, but the one you create. And that can be, I mean, there's amazing communities anywhere, but even just here in Wellington, there's so many.
Found family, right?
Yeah.
Found family. I've got a friend who calls her chosen family her logical family.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't that great?
That's genius.
Not biological, certainly logical.
Definitely logical.
Yeah, which I just think is extraordinary, and I'm totally behind that. Yeah, if people don't accept you, then there's something very wrong with them.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, unless you're a fucking psychopathic serial killer, probably stop doing that. But yeah, I understand why people are afraid, because I was afraid. I spent my early 20s in a church that preached hatred against queerness. And there's just a lot of repression. Like, I think if you look into it, a lot of people who hate that issues that they haven't dealt with.
Well, yeah, it's a reflection on them, not you. You know, it always is. I'm like, there's something, you were afraid of something in you that you don't understand and don't want to come to terms with.
Yeah. And that's the thing, reconciling all of who I am. So you asked earlier, how do I hold that dichotomy and bridge the gap? Well, I reconciled it all. I went, I am Christian and I am queer and I am ADHD and I am disabled and I am and I am and I am and I, well, just wait, isn't it?
Yeah.
Gonna try and be as best I can with this body that I've been handed down to me. I'd like a refund, but I can't get one. Yeah, it's if you are struggling to reconcile, if anyone wants to reach out to me, they will always find welcome at my church.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah. Welcome and refuge. Isn't that the way it's supposed to be?
Yeah. So, you know, in theory, it seems so simple, and I don't know why it's not.
I know. In theory, it seems so easy. In practice, people are shit.
Yeah. That's the problem. I think the problem is people.
Yeah, it's always is.
It is. It's the root of all issues.
We could could just get rid of all the people.
Yeah. Place would thrive.
We'd be great.
Can I ask you, you mentioned about being disabled and chronically ill.
Yeah.
How have you managed to cope with that, especially over the last year?
Yeah. So before we hit record on this, I was telling you that I used to do up to 5 gigs a week. In fringe festivals, I was fucking everywhere, literally not running, I can't run, who am I kidding? Punishing myself to get from venue to venue for different gigs, like 2 gigs a night during fringe, like a 5-night run of like a solo show or a duet show, and then cabaret shows and all that jazz. And it was my identity, you know. I was wrapped up in being the hardest working, busiest producer performer in Wellington, and you know, really building my empire, darling. And then it all came crashing down this time last year, and I had a good cry. I had a good cry a couple of weeks ago because I was just like, it's not fair.
Yeah.
And one of my friends messaged and said, "Oh, are you going to be in tomorrow?" And I'm like, "Man, I'm not really going anywhere else, am I?" I've had to make my life a lot smaller in a lot of ways. I have to work within the limitations of my chronic illnesses and the fatigue and pain. And if I'm having a good day, it's so nice, but they are so few and far between.
Yeah.
And one of my other friends said the other day, "Oh, you had a glimmer of hope back there." I said, "Yeah, I had a good week back in February." And I just, the reality of it just hit me, and I was like, "Oh, is this everything now? Is this everything?" So pivoting from being like go to slow is something that has taken a lot of adjustment. I've had a lot of support. I've got a business mentor, I've got my church, I've got my comedy family, I've got all my family is back in England and have their own issues, so but they do care, and they check in on me quite regularly. But it's a lot to get my head around, but it pushes me to stop and focus on what's really important. So I'm co-director of the Disabled Artists Theatre Festival, previously DAFT, Disabled Artists Festival of Theatre, now DATFest, which will be coming up in September, October. And it's a festival highlighting and celebrating disabled practitioners of theatre and art, and theatre arts, and it's beautiful. It's just one of the most beautiful things. It exhausts the living shit out of me, and I won't be able to go to much of the festival myself, but I, as co-director, am responsible for making sure that festival happens in a really accessible and exciting way that highlights and values and gives opportunities to, again, an underrepresented community. So I'm excited for that, but also it's like, I'm just thinking about it, wears me the fuck out.
I know, I'm really admire, you know, the thing is, you say, I know you've had to make your world smaller and adjust, but the fact that you're still involved in so much and still able to work in some way to cultivate these communities and spaces for other people is so impressive.
Thank you. I just feel like it's crucial, isn't it? Like, I've always thought, oh, if I don't do it, no one else will. I'm sure they would.
But you got there first.
But I want to be part of that, you know?
Yeah.
Like I don't want to say, oh, I wish that could happen, or I wish there was an opportunity for XYZ, I'm going to say, here's an opportunity for XYZ. Do you want to be in? Like, that's the way I work. If I don't see it, I create it or try to.
I think things like the Disabled Arts Festival is just so important, as you say, because it's such an underrepresented group. And especially, you know, not every disability is visible.
People, it's so frustrating. People tell me, oh, you look really well, Kate. And I'm like, great. Thanks for that. What do you mean? I am on fire inside.
Yeah, you don't know what's happening.
Like, I am putting on a brave face. I can look great. I feel like shit.
Sometimes the worse you feel, the less people notice, at least for me, because I just put on such a front. And yeah, it's almost like you're determined not to let people show or something. I don't know.
So that's the thing that I've had to come to terms with as well, like showing my weakness and showing my lack of capacity. But everyone is so on board with me taking care of myself. Like when I said to the group who are performing tonight at Femmes and Thems, it's not in my best interests for my health to come to this. I'm really sorry. I want to be with you. My heart is bleeding because I can't be there, but I would rather not be there and protect my next week of like life.
Yeah.
And be able to cope with all the lovely things that happen like next door or across the road at church or online, because it just won't serve me or anyone else if I can't do anything. You know, if I just have to spend a week recovering from an evening of activity, doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah. And I think you've also put in so much groundwork to date that you've more than earned that time to step back and just take a back seat a little bit. And although I do know it's so hard, because I think we're quite similar in that I like to be involved in everything and set things up. So it's hard to come to terms with.
It is. And I've been really lucky that I've got such good people around me. But it is getting to that stage where people are starting to ask if I'm getting better, if there's any improvement, and if I'm doing all the right things, and just am I doing what my doctor's telling me to do? And
you're like, no, I hadn't thought of trying that.
Oh, really? Have you tried? There's a poem in this. Have you tried? Have you tried yoga? I've heard it's really good for you. Have you tried walking? Have you tried X, Y, Z? Like, yes.
Yeah.
Of course I have, you idiot.
No, I've just been sitting here hoping it away.
Yeah, and this may be the future for me. And that's okay. I have to be okay with that. I might improve. Some health might return. But I can't guarantee it. And my doctor has told me my job is to do as little as possible. Which is very, very hard for someone who has always been a bit of a go-getter. Not hugely ambitious go-getter, but one who likes to, like you say, be involved. I miss going into town and having coffee with comedians and poets and building them up and watching them flourish, you know, like those mentorship relationships look different now. And yeah, I do have to be careful and conserve my energy, but if I don't, then I won't be any good at all.
Yeah. And I mean, you're still doing so much. You know, the show is going on tonight, and you're still.
The show must go on.
The show must go on.
It has to. Like, if it stops, then
everyone loses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I will find a way to keep it going, and I'm lucky. I've got a team of people who have said yes to keeping things going for me. which is incredible, and different people coming up through all the time. So, you know, I had Booth the Clown helping last year with Femmes and Thems, but now Booth has got so many awards of their own and so much recognition, and is doing so well. They're too busy to help me, so I'm training up another couple of people to take a how to be Kate 101 class in producing and building community, and you know, I can't let go. I don't want to.
But what a great opportunity for someone to get that experience as well, and learn from someone who has so much experience producing and building up shows.
I mean, we all stand on the shoulders of giants, don't we?
Yeah.
I'm just another link in a chain for some people, and I'm okay with that. Like, if people only have 1 or 2 encounters with me, but that gives them something to go forward with, then that's amazing. I might not see the consequences of my involvement in their world, but I've had so many people who have come to me and said, "You've saved my life by giving me an opportunity."
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And like, don't underestimate the importance of what you do, Kate.
Yeah.
And so, but it's hard not to be egotistical about it as well. Like, it's not about, look at me, look how great I am. That's not why I say those things. You know, it is crucial that people have that safety and that ability to try things out in those safe spaces, so that they can discover that they can actually do stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Build their confidence.
Yeah. And if I'd have had that, if instead of, when I asked my dad if I could have drama lessons, because I wanted to be an actress, and he said, yeah, sure, I wonder where my life would be. But instead he said, no, don't be stupid, you'll always be an out of work actress. I went, oh, okay, Dad, thanks, bye.
Thanks for building me up.
Yeah.
It's called character building.
Yeah, certainly was. But then I think, oh, if I had been an actress, they would have expected me to like run in high heels, and I can't do that shit.
No. That's why I can never be famous.
Yeah, I could never be famous because I can't run in high heels. Yeah, I think that's the start of another poem, isn't it? It sounds like I could never.
Speaking of poems, you have a poetry book.
I have 2, and I'm working on 3 more. Oh, I think so. My first one is called Squirt and was released in 2019 with the show, and I gave my last copy to one of the old ladies at church the other day. I said, "This is very rude. Are you sure you want it?" And she said, "Yes, I'm very sure." And then that same year I produced a book of poems and prayers for my church. I'm now working on a book of heavenly haiku. So I go to a church group on Thursday, and I'm basically the unofficial minute taker in haiku form. So all the ideas that we come up that are suggested, and all the linguistic use and all the faith stuff, is going into a book of heavenly haiku. And then I've also got another one that's in progress. You know, I can't do it all. Called Open Legs, Open Heart. And so the first half is all the sexy, silly, overtly out there stuff, and then the open heart, which is actually about 2 or 3 times longer than the first half, because it's like, this is who I am.
I love that. Yeah, your ability to take the 2 things that in a lot of people's heads don't fit together. And it's just that, like, I just think that encompasses what you've said the whole conversation of, like, it's all just one thing. It's all just me. And yeah. So really, it's such a good representation of who you are, which I guess is the sign of any good poetry.
Thanks, love. If I had it, I don't think I've got any copies left of Squirt, but I will make sure you get Open Legs, Open Heart when it finally comes out.
You are very, as the name says, creative. Because I also actually, what people may not know is I have two of your art pieces in our bathroom. And I love them. And everybody comments on them, and they're two of my favorite things.
That's the ones on boobs, isn't it?
There's one on boobs, and then there's one, the clitoris. Cuterus. The cuterus.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
From my poem Period Piece.
Yeah.
My uterus currently making me feel far from cuterus.
Oh.
Yeah, it's great. I'm glad. Which poem on boobs have you got?
Oh, I need to go and see. I can't remember which one. Look at it every day. It's in my bathroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it joins it, yeah, because I also have like a lot of new drawings and stuff in our bathroom, and it just fits in wonderfully.
Oh, I just love that series. I found a book of boobs in a somewhere, and I just ripped them out and put them through my typewriter and just wrote what felt right for those bodies. And honestly, it's some of my favorite writing that I've done, and that was years ago.
And boobs are great.
Boobs are brilliant.
Big fan.
I love tits.
Oh.
Yeah,
yeah. I love talking to you, Kate. I could talk to you all day.
Thanks. I am quite wonderful.
You are.
So modest. So modest.
I mean, I think you summed it up nicely with all your awards that you told me about in your intro.
Multi-award winner. I'm a multi-award winner, darling. Yeah, you can't stop me. So far haven't won anything in 2024.
Oh, you know what? Still 5 months to go.
I know. My big push when I was talking to my business advisor, I said in 2 years' time I want a national award. So I'm like, that's what I'm working toward. I don't mind if I don't get any awards this year. So long as I get a national award in 2025, I'll be happy.
I just think maybe 2024 is the year we give someone else a chance, you know? Just,
I mean,
level the playing field.
Sure. Why not? I mean,
selfless.
Before
we wrap up, Kate, I know obviously with chronic illness, you never know what tomorrow is going to be like and what it's going to bring. But I guess, what's your hope for the next couple months?
Who knows what tomorrow brings? Yeah, that we finalize and get everything sorted for the Disabled Arts Festival, and that my new shoulder tapped people thrive, and that I continue to remain positive, maybe win an award.
Yeah, listen out, all art award winners. Kate's coming
for you. And yeah, just to people to keep using my Adult Toy Megastore discount code Kate10 for 10% off their orders.
Yes. Big fans of Adult Toy Megastore over here.
Adult Toy Megastore Kate10 gets you 10% off your orders. I use my code quite regularly for myself.
Girl, you deserve a little cheering up. You've been at home for a year.
Oh God,
discounts. It's you.
I'm so annoyed because I've tried having sex in this condition and it just doesn't work.
Oh,
it's too painful and takes too long to recover, and I'm just like, but who the fuck am I if I can't fuck? So yeah, that's been a challenge too. Yeah. But no, it's fine.
I'm impressed at how positive you are, because let me tell you,
I mean,
I don't think I'd be that chipper. But I am a naturally glass half empty person, to be fair.
Cheerful. Yeah, it is. I'm not always this chirpy about it all, but you know, that's okay too. If I had been in a bad mood today, we would have had a completely different conversation.
We would have just had a rant, and that's fine.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it is fine. I'm allowed to be happy some days and less happy the others, because that's life, you know. Emotion.
Exactly.
Gotta honor everything that you feel and let it happen. And then keep going. Just keep going.
Kate, it's been so good chatting with you. You're an
Oh,
absolute powerhouse and just genuinely such an impressive, positive person. And I just think everyone just needs to recognize the work you do for the Wellington arts community, because it's so impressive. So thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me.
Oh, Ash, it's been a delight. Can we do it again?
Perfect. with alcohol next time, preferably.
Oh, maybe. Maybe.
Thank you so much, Kate.
Thanks, love.